Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you are. I am in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, and today I'm going to make a response video. See you soon.
Yes, I am wearing a dress. Mind blown. I know.
Mind blowing. I guess it depends on the culture and the country, because a lot of countries in the world, well, the ones where I hang out in, men wear dresses. This is like in the Middle East, in Africa, Southeast Asia, South Asia. I see this all the time. And it's not a big deal. But I guess it's because of the definition of dress. When I looked it up in the Oxford Dictionary, it says it's a one-piece garment for a woman or girl that covers the body and extends down over the legs. Now, probably in the country where this guy is in and in Western countries, that's what dress means. But in other cultures, this is the definition of a dress: a one-piece garment that covers the body and extends down over the legs. So men wear dresses. I've seen them in skirts, in sarongs, in tunics, all kinds of dresses. Even members of the clergy wear dresses. In the past, the Romans, the Greeks, they all wore those little tunics. I don't know when dress became a female or woman's garment. I don't know who came up with that idea. But like I say, in most cultures, it's not mind-blowing. So I don't know.
I know. I'm sure this video is going to piss off a lot of people and I'm going to lose subscribers because of it, but I don't really care. I know that some of you, when you see me wearing a dress, probably automatically think it's funny, right? You think it's a joke, you want to laugh, but really think about why that is. I mean, if I were a woman wearing a t-shirt or something associated with being a male, it wouldn't be funny. So why is it funny, me in a male body wearing a dress? Why is that a joke? You ever think about it?
Okay, so that's a good point about when people see him wearing this dress, that they immediately would think it's funny. Well, I think in this case, why a lot of people would think it's funny is not so much that he's wearing a dress, but it's because the type of dress he is wearing. Because typically men who wear dresses don't choose this type of design, you know, with the shoestring strap and then the low cut. Yeah, typically every man that I've seen and fashions that I've seen of men in dress, they do not wear this type of dress. And I mean, even when you look at him, I'm saying him because I've seen the whole video, and he doesn't mind being called him, her, whatever. Okay, so when I look at what he's wearing, it looks funny. It does, because it doesn't suit him. Because the thing is, when we dress up because we want to look nice. So what he's wearing, it's not suitable for his body type. So if he wants to wear a dress, you know, wear something that's more complementary to the body. And then also the point about when women wear t-shirts, people don't seem to care, which is true. I'm wearing a t-shirt. And of course, this t-shirt, people won't care because it's like, again, it's fitting. It's fitting me quite well. Maybe it's a bit big on the shoulders. But if I was wearing a wife beater, or you know those kind of t-shirts that the men wear where the strap is about this thick and then the armhole is quite big, so it goes down to almost to the waist and then up. And then the neckline is very low. And it would probably be thigh level. Yeah, I think if I had to wear that, it would also look funny if I just wore it like that. Because my breast would be sticking out, it would be falling off my shoulders, so it doesn't look good. I would have to wear a tank top inside maybe, and then accessorize it with a belt and wear some boots, because it's how you dress yourself. And like I said before, men wear dresses. It's just the type of dress. So yeah, I can see why some people would think that what he's wearing is funny and laughable.
Well, it's because women are treated as inferior to men. And so when someone in a male body wears a female article of clothing, it's automatically seen as that man lowering their social status. And so it's seen as funny because it's like they're losing some of their power by putting on some clothing that signifies femininity. So this world hates femininity. This world puts women on a lower pedestal than men. And just by, me wearing a dress, and if you think that that's funny, or probably a lot of people will think that I'm less credible. They'll listen to what I have to say less because I'm wearing an article of clothing relating to femininity, which just shows that women are treated as inferior to men.
Here there's a few points that I'd like to trash out. Okay, so women are being treated as inferior to men. Okay, now this is a bit complicated because in the West, no, women are not being treated as inferior to men. But at this moment in time, as we speak, what is happening is that there is this whole thing going on about or against biological women, where biological women, there is a certain group of people who are trying to discredit the existence of biological women. And because of this, women are losing their space in society as women. WOMEN, as woman, which is the X human being, the XX adult human being. So if you look at it from this perspective, then yes, women are in the West being treated as inferior, but only by this certain group in the Western society who wants biological women to not exist. If anyone wants to dispute this, please just go and look at what is happening to J.K. Rowling at the moment. Okay? Right. Second thing, he says that because people will be upset because he is a man, or people get upset when they see a man in women's clothing. Now the thing is, who defines that that is a woman's clothing, or that particular art dress piece belongs only to the women? Who defines that? Let me tell you who defines that. Fashion designers. And the majority of fashion designers are men from the alphabet community. Now, I use the term alphabet community, alphabet, because alphabet is LGBTQAI++, whatever. I use alphabet because it encompasses everybody. I don't want anyone to be left out. This term was coined by the amazing Lucas, so it's not I didn't make it up. He makes it up, and it's just an easy way to communicate. So the fashion designers are the ones that decided that this is women's clothing and this is not. So if there's any inferior treatment of women, then we must look at the fashion designers, and even the fact that men cannot wear this kind of garment again, we have to look at the fashion designers who design this, because they are the ones that set the trends. It's not the general public. The general public goes with whatever goes. If fashion designer says pink socks are in, it will be in. And like I said, the fashion designers are from the alphabet community. So we have to look there at why this is happening. Okay. Men, there's a perception that when a man wears women's clothing, the social status, his social status is lowered. Again, it depends on which society you live in. Because in a lot of societies, like I mentioned before, Asia, the Middle East, those kind of societies, even like the Balkans, some of their clothes, especially the tribal clothes and that, there's a crossover. And men wear dresses. The only difference is maybe in the cutting, which I feel is very important. The cutting is very important because we have different physiques. The male body, the female body, it's a different physique. Even just the male body itself or just the female body itself, we differ from person to person. So certain cuts, certain designs you don't wear because it doesn't suit you. And if it doesn't suit you, you might come across as looking funny. So is this really about the dress, or is it about who sets the trends of what is considered women's fashion? Or is it people laughing because they don't understand something? So there's a lot of factors we have to think about. Okay, then he talks about femininity. The world hates femininity. No, it does not. It loves femininity. And I'll tell you why. Because the definition of femininity in the Oxford English Dictionary is the fact of being a woman. The qualities that are considered to be typical of women. So the fact of being a woman. So what is a woman? A woman is a biological XX chromosome human being. That is a woman. And if that is the epitome of femininity, then the only people who hate femininity, again, are certain people from a certain group in the alphabet community. Not the world, just a few people, if we base it on the dictionary definition of femininity. And it also says the qualities that are considered to be typical of women is femininity. The world doesn't hate it. Because every straight man loves this. That is why they are always chasing women. It's just in their DNA that they want the qualities that are considered to be typical of women. And they want this in the first part of the definition, which is in the fact of being a woman. So which means the world does not hate femininity. It does not. In fact, it celebrates femininity. That is why the jobs where women excel the most is in fashion, prostitution, and pornography. Because this is where femininity is celebrated. So I don't know where he gets that from. Okay, but he does say, which there is a point here, that when a man or someone with a male physique wears a dress, they lose credibility. Yes, definitely in the Western societies. But like I said before, not in other societies, because in other societies, dress is not just for women. So let me just take the Western society. Yes, I've seen how men lose credibility just because they're wearing what is referred to as a dress, which is for women only. But I've seen this happen to women as well. And the reason why you would lose credibility is because of the type of dress you wear. If you're going to wear a strapless, low-cut dress to a business meeting, you will lose credibility. If you're going to wear it as a lawyer in a courtroom, you're going to lose credibility. If you as a man wear a strapless dress or the cutting is not right in any society, you will lose credibility, because we all know that fashion really dictates our perception of people. This is a known fact. We judge people by what they wear. So again, it's not about the discrimination, or it's about what is a dress, what is appropriate wear, what suits you, who determines what you must wear. So we always want to blame society when it's not. It's just a handful of people. And if you look carefully at what I've been saying, you can see who the handful of people are who is causing this problem. Right? Just take a look.
Now, this is a video I've been wanting to make for a while because I get a lot of people that ask me, how do you identify? And I identify as non-binary. What does that mean? Well, it means I don't identify as male or female. Some days I feel more masculine, some days I feel more feminine, sometimes I feel like both or neither. But I don't subscribe to one kind of gender binary.
Yeah, so this is the part where I really find it very confusing and, quite frankly, also a little bit annoying, because if someone asks you, what do you identify as? It's very simple, because in his case, if he is a biological male, it's very easy. You just identify as I am a male. I am a biological male. Because everybody knows that then that means he's an XY chromosome human. You don't have to continue further with non-binary and all that, because he says, I'm non-binary because sometimes I feel like I'm more masculine and sometimes more feminine, or something like that, he said. Well, sometimes more male, sometimes more female. Hello, this is everybody in the world. Every single person is like that. Because again, it depends on what in your society defines what is male behavior. Because when you talk about feelings, it's not science, it will be feelings. So in your society, what determines that the feeling is male and what determines that the feeling is female? It differs in every society. In the Western society, a woman who scuba dives is not considered too masculine or too feminine. It's just that's what you do. But in some societies, it's considered a masculine trait. So if you scuba dive, then they would say you are displaying more masculine tendencies. It's much to do about nothing. You identify as, first of all, as a human being, and then you identify as a male or a female, a biological male or female, or if you are intersex, which is not another sex. There's only male and female. Intersex is an abnormality. So that's all that you are. You biological male, biological female, identify as that. That's all. Yeah, sometimes I'm more masculine, I do masculine things which people associate with masculinity in this culture. And sometimes I do more feminine things which people in this culture associate with being feminine. That's all. Everybody in the world is non-binary if you look at it in that way, right? Look at Prince. Prince is a biological male. But look at him. He's 5'2", he's small, he's probably weighed 55 kilograms, that's what you would say is feminine. His physique is feminine. And his clothes, look at what he was wearing. He was always wearing female clothes. female clothes. But he has this deep voice, which is very masculine, but then he has this high voice, which is very feminine. Okay, he was living a heterosexual lifestyle, but maybe that was just his choice, because your sexual partner is always a choice. You can have a same-sex partner, you can have a partner of opposite sex, it's up, you can have a gangbang, you can do whatever you want. So I don't know what this non-binary hoo-ha is all about. In that case, I'm non-binary. In fact, I call myself gender situational, because I go with the situation. If people are going camping, then I'm a man, because that's what men do. If people go to a fashion show, then I'm a gay man, because that's what gay men do. If it's a ladies' high tea event, then I'm a lady, because I'm going to go to the high tea. You see? So I don't even know why we should be explaining this, because why all this labeling, putting people in little boxes? You're just a man or a woman, and then you live your life. That's how it should be.
Now, transgender.org has a really great definition of what it means to be non-binary. It says most people, including most transgender people, are either male or female, but some people don't neatly fit into the categories of man or woman, or male or female. For example, some people have a gender that blends elements of being a man or a woman, or a gender that is different than either male or female. Some people don't identify with any gender. Some people's gender changes over time. And I think this is a very accurate and a fantastic definition of non-binary.
Yeah, so basically this organization's definition of non-binary is just what I said before. If you look at what non-binary means, it then just means everybody in the world. Because every person who is watching this video, if they are honest, will tell you that you are both masculine and feminine. In your daily life, you confront these two all the time, and you act on it. You are not completely feminine from the minute you wake up until you go to bed. We are always changing, because again, gender it's a social construct. Now, we're not talking about sex, okay? Sex is biological. Let's get that straight. Sex, there are only two sexes. There's male and female. And then there's intersex, which is an abnormality. So put that one side, that's biological. Gender, yes, it is a social construct, but at the same time, because it's a social construct, the social structure you are in will determine what behavior is considered masculine, feminine. Okay? But gender is also linked to and attached to your biological sex, because how you behave is also determined on whether you are male or female. Because there is certain things that, because you are female, you will tend to be inclined to do that more than the person who is male. I'll give you an example. Because of our physiques, men are bigger, stronger, because they have more muscle mass, they have more bone density, so they are physically stronger and they are physically bigger. I'm talking in general. And because of this, they tend to take part in more riskier activities. Women, because we are of smaller stature, we are lighter, we tend to be more careful when it comes to certain activities. Men, because they have the power, they will just go. Women will hold back a little bit or just not do it at all. So does that mean that this is just for men and this is just for women? No. But you see, our biological makeup does influence our behaviors as males and females in society, plus the social construct. So it's like this. It's like this. So this definition that this organization has given, it's unnecessary. It is just unnecessary. Because like I said before, we are all biological beings. So you will be a male or a female, or you'll have an abnormality, which is very rare. But let's just talk about these two. And when you are these two, you navigate yourself through life blending with male and female characteristics. And why should you label yourself as anybody? Because if I look at all the people I know, all my friends, then I would say, guys, you are all non-binary. Because I've seen you being too feminine, too masculine, too confused, yet you are a man or yet you are a woman. And I'm sure a lot of you will agree with me on that.
Now, I've always felt this way my whole life. I just never knew what it was consciously until later on. When I was very young, I felt this way. I was always very uncomfortable hanging out with guys, and I always felt extremely uncomfortable when in certain situations they'd be like, oh, all the men, go on this side of the room and do whatever, and all the women go over here on that side of the room. And I'd always feel so incredibly uncomfortable being subject to these definitions because I knew that I didn't fit them. But being born into this society that emphasizes these gender identities, I felt like, perhaps there was something wrong with me. I didn't know why I didn't fit into these categories. I honestly feel more comfortable in the, again, I don't feel either masculine nor feminine. However, I would lean towards femininity, actually. So just to give a really crude example, I would, instead of being with the guys and drinking beer and talking about sports, I would much prefer to hang out with the women, drink wine, and talk about clothes.
Again, this is just the story of every person on Earth's life. Most of the time, a lot of us feel we don't fit in. And it's not because we are non-binary, it's just because we have different interests. Like example, some of us like to cook, irrespective of male or female. And some of us, number one, have no interest whatsoever in cooking. That's just how it is. Some of us love sports. Some of us don't. There's nothing to do with male or female. Yes, there will be a certain tendency for males to maybe like certain activities more, and women, there will be, but this is on the extreme end. Yes, it's interests. And it doesn't mean just because you are female and you are interested in cave diving, which is dominated by males, which doesn't make sense because cave diving is better to have a smaller stature so that it's easier to navigate the narrow tunnels. But women don't do that. Because again, men tend to take on riskier activities more so than women. But there are women who cave dive. And then there are men who never cave dive because they are afraid. Does it mean because they are afraid they are women now? No. Everybody in the world is non-binary at this point, if it's based on all these things. Which just makes everyone even more confused now. I always thought I was a woman, but actually I'm non-binary because they say, because I like this and I like this. There's no such thing. Or if there is, then we are all just non-binary. Let's agree with that, right?
I know that these are really stereotypical examples, and I don't want to enforce these dangerous stereotypes, but I'm just giving you this as an example because that's how the world and society at large tends to generalize things. And that's what you're taught as being normal and acceptable. And I would always be extremely uncomfortable when I was placed in this box of having to be act a certain way or be interested in certain activities. I hated sports. I really don't like the way that guys treat each other. They have this very, they're constantly degrading each other by making these jokes, and it's very, very clear that there's these insecurities and they're trying to assert their dominance by making jokes to take the other person down. Whatever, it's just really gross. I don't like it, and I never did like it. So I always felt much more comfortable in feminine circles, feminine activities. But of course, I wasn't fully comfortable there either. It's not like I identify as female. I would just be, if I were given a choice, I would be more apt to identify with the female sort of box that the world has created. I'm sure that I've had many, many, many feminine past lives. And what
Yes, of course, yeah. Everything that he mentioned is really very stereotypical. And I wouldn't totally agree that that is how society generalizes things, because again, it depends on the society. And when I hear him speak, he's definitely speaking just about his society, because I live in a different society and it's not like that. It's not like that. And then he talks about not putting yourself in a box. But this is exactly what is being done here. When you identify as non-binary, you are putting yourself in a box. Because you are saying, there's this and this and this and this and this, and I am this. You are in a box where, if you take someone, example, like Prince, even Michael Jackson, Annie Lennox, even people like Steven Tyler, this kind of people, you look at them like Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson is a singer. He's an entertainer. But he's really not in a box, because he's not black, he's not white, because look at what he looks like. The way he dresses, he's so sensitive, which is supposed to be not masculine at all. He's not doing he was not doing the typical masculine things like sleeping around and being a rock star, but having all these women around him. He was like totally the opposite of that. So there's no box. You can't put him in a box. That's why everyone just called him crazy. We called him crazy. Well, I didn't, but people call him crazy just because they can't put him in a box. Same with Prince. Prince is just he was even at one point the artist, what was he? The artist formerly known as Prince, because he was so not wanting to be put in a box. His whole persona there was just no label for it. He was just there. Annie Lennox, same thing. Even Steven Tyler. I mean, you look at Steven Tyler, he's a man, but is he a man? If we want to put him in a box, he can't be put in a box. He's just Steven Tyler, he's just there. So this whole non-binary thing is really, it's because that would mean I should be non-binary. And even like he says, he felt better with certain type of people. We all have that. And even if you do feel you fit in more with people who you are not necessarily like follow their lifestyle or whatever, it doesn't mean that you have to now also have a box. Because like if I had to have a box, that means I should identify as a 23-year-old gay man masquerading as a straight woman. You see how confusing that is? It's too confusing. There's just too many genders and stuff going on. It's just, this is where he should use that expression.
One of the reasons why I want to talk about this is because this is something that needs to be normalized. I mean, the world treats people terribly when they choose anything outside of the two acceptable genders, male or female. It's really a travesty. And it's extremely stupid when you think about it because, I mean, it's very interesting. Look how we can change our bodies to reflect how we feel inside. Now, I want you to fast forward to years in the future. At a certain point in the future, we're going to be able to change our bodies so easily that one day, perhaps we want to be masculine, and then the next we'll switch our bodies to feminine. And, we'll be able to switch so easily, just like changing avatars in a video game, that the idea of fixed gender is totally going to melt away anyway. It's such a backwards idea, and to think that you were born a certain way, so this is how you have to be, regardless of how you feel.
Okay, yeah, so this is where the seriousness of this topic starts. Because he says this needs to be normalized, that although you are male or female, you don't have to conform to the social constructs of gender, which I agree with. But like I said earlier on, gender and sex are same but different. They're different, but they work together. So let me formulate my thoughts. Sex, male, female, and then there is an abnormality. But for the sake of the point I want to make, let's take the intersex people totally out, because we want to talk about non-binary. So the fact is that even if you are non-binary, which to me means you do not conform to the social construct of male and female, the biological fact that a male is an XY human being and the female is an XX human being, this is fact. This cannot be changed. Doesn't matter how many tantrums you throw, it's not going to change. That is what it is. So put that aside. Gender, social construct, like I said earlier on, some of it, yes, and it differs from country to country and culture to culture. Okay, so we cannot put everything in one box. But it is also very connected to sex, because again, like I mentioned before, your sex also determines how you would behave because of physicality, hormones, etc., etc. Okay? I don't want to go too deep into that because then it becomes a science lesson and a biology lesson. And I know a lot of people do not believe in science and biology. They believe in feelings. Nothing more than feelings. Okay, feelings are good. But facts are also very good. So we need to know what is fact and what is feeling. So, sex, fact. Fact. Gender is sex plus social construct. So because of social construct, there might be some feeling there. Some. Might. Note well. Two very important words. Now, this needs to be normalized. It is normalized. It's already normalized. So what's the big deal? It's already normalized. What is not normal is making an issue out of it. Making non-binary. What non-binary? The sex is binary. There's male and female. What this person is talking about here is not. It's not even about binary. It's about how you feel, how you conduct yourself, how you navigate through life without conforming to the stereotypical gender roles. That's all. You don't have to create another complete entity for yourself or identity to fit into. So I don't understand why it should be normalized, okay? And also pretend that male and female does not exist. That also does not help, because it does exist. It exists. If it didn't exist, then we would not be here, because it takes a male and a female to create a new life. For all of those of us who believe in science and biology, you know, that's how you create a new life, you know, okay? Then the second point he makes is that the world treats people terribly when they choose anything outside of the true acceptable genders of male or female. This is a rather broad statement, I mean, and rather, I think, arrogant in a way, because, again, maybe in his society. Because in other societies, it's not. People do not get treated terribly because they don't conform. Not at all. They are actually celebrated. So maybe this person needs to travel a little bit more. The other thing is, we must also remember, people with functioning retinas and functioning brains, and just people in general, they base who you are on what they see. Because if you are walking down the street and I see you, I don't know you, I just see you. So because I have functioning retinas and I even have specs, so my eyesight is even extra good, and I have a very functioning brain, when I see you, I am already in my head identifying you. So I see a white male, 5'11", needs to go to the gym more often, hairstyle has to change, loving the suit, the attaché case is so out already, needs to get a proper laptop. You know, I've already done the whole thing about you, because we are visual. And then if I've identified you as that, but now I meet you, now I see you are male, but actually you're not white. You're probably biracial. And you do work out, but you also overeat. So going to the gym is not good enough. You know what, you understand where I'm trying to go with this? So maybe people sometimes treat people terribly because they see this person and they think they see a woman, so they are expecting, because we are humans, this is how we are, like he said, there's a general stereotype of what a woman should be or should behave like. So we see a woman, or we see someone and we think they are a woman, but then they don't behave like that because they are actually a man. So this is when the terrible behavior comes in. It's like when you see Blair White. If she walks down the street, I will see woman. And then the way she behaves, I would then be a bit confused, or I would be a bit not sure that she's totally a biological woman, because her movements are exaggerated. Because usually, note well, I say usually, I'm not saying this is a fact. Usually the trans women that I know, they over-exaggerate femininity. Okay? Like when I'm with them, I'm the butch one, but I'm actually the biological woman. But that's just how it is. So for me, it's very easy to pick up on who's trans and who's not. And Thailand is my second home, so where was I going with this? Okay, the terrible treatment comes from when people see something, but it's not what they get. So this is also something that we have to look at. So it's not just, it's from both sides. It's from you, what are you trying to project? And you the person looking, you also have to be more open and accepting to what you might be seeing is not the real deal, because now everything is so fake. Everyone is so fake. You don't know who is real anymore. Everyone is acting with whatever the latest trend is. So now the latest trend is to be non-binary. So everybody's non-binary. And actually, yes, everybody is. Most people are non-binary because most of us don't conform to typical male or typical female. So we need to also think about these things. Okay, we have to think about it from all perspectives. Okay, number 3. He says, look how we can change our bodies to reflect how we feel inside. And then, look how we can change our bodies to reflect how we feel inside. This has to be normalized. No, we can't, because especially if you are this non-binary person, if you have gender dysphoria, yes, of course. If you need to change your body to reflect who you feel you are inside, then go for it. Because but on the other hand, you will always still be a biological male or female. Doesn't matter how you change your body. When it comes down to the DNA, that is what you are. You will still be male or female. So when you identify, you will identify as trans male or trans woman. You cannot identify as just woman or just male, because you should actually identify. If you don't want to identify as trans male, example, you can identify as, I'm a biological woman, but I have transitioned. So, because then we understand, you are a woman, but you've transitioned and now you're a trans male. So this is another thing that's very confusing, but that's the trans community. Leave them out. We're talking about these now non-binary people now. If non-binary people could change their bodies based on how they feel, I think in one day I would be a male for 2 hours and then a female for 3 hours, and I would have to be a male again for the next 6 hours, and then depending who my sexual partner is, because it could be male, could be female, then I would have to change according to that as well. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. True feeling is good, but you also have to stick with what is factual. Because at the end of the day, in the future, when we look back at this, we will see the big mistakes we have made. You don't have to change your body to represent yourself. You change everything on the outside. Because when you change things on the outside, it's not permanent. And we do this all the time. All the time. We change all the time. Okay, number 4. Fixed gender is going to melt away. This in the future, this person speculates that fixed gender is going to melt away because you were born a certain way. It doesn't mean that if you were born a certain way, that this is how you have to be regardless of how you feel. But this is already here. It has been like this forever. Well, in my lifetime, it has always been like that. Maybe I'm just lucky because of where I live, but it has always been like that. This is not a new thing. Yes, you are born like this, but you don't have. But it doesn't mean you have to be like that. It depends on also how you feel. Of course, again, but the facts will remain. The fact that you are male or female will remain, but how you behave does not necessarily have to conform to the social construct of that. So far, what I'm hearing here doesn't carry much weight. It's just things out there, much to do about nothing, I would say. It's out there, but it has always been out there. Nothing new to learn here.
So this world treats people who don't fit into the, so-called normal gender boxes, they treat them horribly. Horribly. And so one of the reasons why that I'm making this video is because we need to normalize this. First of all, I want to piss off the people who would find my identity is offensive. I mean, fuck you. You can unsubscribe, please do. But I also am doing this because I know that there are so many people who are watching who feel a certain way, but they don't feel comfortable coming out, or they don't feel, or maybe they don't even know. They didn't even know that this identity sort of existed. And I want to make this, first of all, normal. I want to, so that everyone can feel safe in expressing themselves, and so that they know that there's not something wrong with them, that it's perfectly fine and perfectly okay to feel neither masculine, neither feminine, or maybe one day or one the other. So sometimes people do ask me, what are my preferred pronouns? And honestly, to me, it doesn't really matter. You can call me he, she, or they. I'm pretty much comfortable with any of those. And the only thing that I don't really like is explicitly being called a man. For example, someone might say, oh, you're such a handsome man. That really creeps me out. I mean, just even saying that makes me feel it's cringy. It makes my skin crawl. But, I take it, I know that people are giving me a compliment. So, I'm not offended by it by any means. I know that someone's trying to be nice. And so I'm not offended, but I'm just letting you guys know, because I get this question asked a lot, So really, it doesn't really matter, he, she, they. I'm comfortable with all these, but just don't be like, oh, what a handsome man. I don't even like saying that. It's just, no, thanks.
Yeah, okay. Again, when he says this world treats people terribly, that is too much of a general statement, because he cannot speak for the world, because this is not true. It's not everywhere in the world where people get treated horribly because they identify as all these other things. Because in a lot of places in the world, although the person does not conform to the stereotypical male or female roles, they would still identify as male or female. They do not use the word non-binary. Never even heard of it. So if you ask them, are you a man or a woman, they would say, yes, I'm a man or a woman. That's all. And then you just look at them, and he's a man, but he's wearing a skirt and a blouse and high heels and makeup, and he's a man. You could then ask, are you trans? Which actually you don't want, because they will say, I'm a trans woman, or I'm a trans man, or they would use that term. There's no such thing as non-binary. People are just male or female or trans when it comes to their gender. Of course, when it comes to sexual orientation, that's a different story. And we are not talking about sexual orientation, we're only talking about gender. So this that he says the world, that is very wrong. Maybe his little world, but the world is very big. Very big. And what he's talking about does not apply in many of the countries. People are quite relaxed about these things. Okay, let me just adjust this a little bit. And then, he says some people might be offensive because of his identity. Yeah, I can see that. Based on, because it looks like the country he comes from, people get offended over so many things. But I think even in general, a lot of people would be offended by him identifying as non-binary, because non-binary is not even something that exists, because because sex is binary. You cannot be not male and not female. You're either one or the other. That's it. Or like I said, intersex, but we leave that because that's an abnormality. But you have to be male or female. But how you behave is something else. But what you are is again something else. Oh, how to explain this so many times. Okay, number 3. No need to normalize the identity non-binary. I wrote this, there's no need. Oh, because he kept saying we have to normalize this kind of, this like non-binary behavior. No, we don't need to normalize it because it has been normal since the beginning of mankind. It's normal. For someone to be of one sex but behave as something else has always been there. It has always been there. And he's just unfortunate that, like I say, he's living in a country where it's an issue. All the countries I've lived in, it has never been an issue, so I don't know. Because I'm a typical person that they would refer to as non-binary. Because I don't conform to the social, to the gender norms. Okay? Okay, then the preferred pronouns. This is another one of these. Pronouns is usually linked to your biological sex. And since there's only two biological sexes, which is he or she, that's the pronouns you have to use. He or she. Of course, if you don't believe that biological sex exists, you're going to want to have all these they, them, they, those other z, zong, zeng, zeng, whatever, because you either do not know that pronouns is based on biological sex, or you don't know about science and biology, or you're just not knowledgeable. That's all. I can understand if you are a trans woman, you are she, because you paid a lot of money to become she, and the same with he. But why would you be they even when I look at you and your genetic makeup is whatever, that you cannot be called by that pronoun? This is just, I don't know, I just feel these people are just so sensitive these days. Everyone wants to be so special. You don't have to have all those trimmings to be special. Just be. You can just walk around in the street and you are already special. You don't have to prove by labeling yourself and putting yourself in boxes and stuff. Just be a human and then be whatever you are biologically, and then live whatever life you want to live. And just be happy and merry. Okay, and then he says, okay, he does get upset when people call him a man. Okay, like I said, I have functioning retinas and a functioning brain. When I look at him, he's a man. I'm sure he is genetically, he's an XY human being. I'm positive about that. So why would, that's a sign of insecurity, because if you are not secure in what you are, then how can you be in a good space to live and to be in this world? You have to accept what you are, not just who you are, but what you are. Like, what is your genetic makeup? What is the color of your skin? What is the texture of your hair? What is your height? What is your intellectual capacity? All these things, this is what you are. And then if this is what you are, and these are things you can't change, then you have to know how to be in this and live with that. So that to me makes me actually quite sad, because that shows that he's not in a good space. And I can see that people like him, that's why now I understand when he talks about the world is terrible and all that. I can now understand why he has this mindset and where he's coming from. Because if you don't accept yourself for who you are, how in the world, and respect that, how in the world do you expect the next person is going to do that? Because self-love, that's what it's called, self-love. It has to come from within. And sadly, he's not in the right space. So, yeah, I feel a bit sad for him about that.
Remember that we're all eternal minds, souls, and the mind, the soul, it has no fixed gender. It might prefer to express itself in one way or another throughout various lifetimes, but ultimately, Our souls, there's no fixed gender. We just choose to express ourselves in a certain way in the dimension of space-time, just like we choose to express ourselves here today by the clothes we wear. So I really want people to understand that this reality, it's our playing ground, and we can express each other and have fun with it any way that we so will. And we need to create a safe place, an accepting environment for people to grow, learn, and understand themselves, and not have to live in fear by backwards old world thinking. And this is another reason why as well that we emphasize the importance of integrating the mirror self in Hyperianism. And the mirror self is sort of an updated idea stemming from Carl Jung's Anima and Animus, but it's much more involved than that and is updated to include all genders rather being a male-female binary.
In this next part, he goes on about that we are all eternal minds and souls, and like that the soul has no fixed gender, etc., which is true. But we must remember we are body, mind, soul, and spirit. So body has sex. The body is going to be either male or female. If there is an abnormality, it will be intersex. So this we cannot run away from. Okay, that's the body. The mind, the soul, and the spirit obviously will have no fixed gender or fixed sex, because it is a soul and a spirit. Spirit has no body. That's why it's called a spirit. Okay, so I understand what he's trying to get at here, but we must remember that this whole conversation that's going on here is about the body. It's about the body. And if you want to talk about the soul, which is about feeling and all that, you cannot divorce the soul from the body. If you're dead, yes, you can go ahead, but we are alive. So we must keep that in perspective. Okay, then the next thing he says, express yourself by the clothes you wear. Exactly. No one's stopping anyone from wearing whatever they want to wear. The thing is, do it tastefully. And according to what suits your body. You cannot wear a dress and it doesn't suit you. If you have too broad shoulders, too wide of a waist, then you wear the dress, the type of dress that men in the Middle East or in Africa or in some of these other cultures wear. You don't wear strappy, even women that are a bit broad on top, they don't wear strappy little dresses because it does not suit the body type. And even high heels, if you have big calves and big ankles and you like stocky built with big thighs, you don't wear high heels. That's just fashion. So the reason a lot of men look funny when they wear this kind of clothes is because they don't have the right body. Prince looked fabulous because Prince is small in stature. He has a small frame. He's long. He's got little ankles, so he looks beautiful. Steven Tyler, look at his bell bottoms. He wears the tight fitting. Oh, the other guy, Russell Brand. Look at Russell Brand. Russell Brand could rock up in a dress and he would look fantastic. Well, of course, it would also have to be a bit covered on the top because he's a bit broad. But if he had to wear a short skirt with high heels, I'm sure he would look fantastic because he has the right body and he has the right attitude. He would know how to carry it. He would not be doing it as a parody. A female parody, because most of these people who I see, men in dresses, because they make a parody out of women's lives. That is why it looks funny. There's too much exaggeration. If Russell Brand had to rock up in a mini skirt with a nice frilly blouse, he wouldn't make a parody out of it because he's already like that. He's sexy, he's a man, but he can carry off a dress and a pair of high heels and nobody would laugh. Nobody. So it's a lot of times it's got nothing to do with people not accepting you because what you wear or how you look. It's how you behave. It's how you behave when you are wearing what you're wearing. The same applies to women. People don't bother women who dress like men, because even if a woman is dressed like a man, she doesn't go around doing all exaggerating men's behavior, spitting and swearing, and I'm being generalizing about and stereotyping men here, spitting and swearing and adjusting her balls all the time. She doesn't do that. She just wears the jeans and the t-shirt. That's it. So maybe we also have to think a lot about these kind of things. Oh, this has gone on for too long. Okay, I hope this is just what my response to this video, because I just hope that we can stop labeling and having all these boxes, because the world is becoming crazy and is becoming an unsafe place for women. And I'm sorry, but I have to say this. The alphabet people is making the world an unsafe place for women. You are oppressing us. We have no more voice. We are afraid to speak up because we will get cancelled. We get called TERFs. We get called all these names. And if you look at it again, if you want to talk about male domination, the male domination is coming from the alphabet community. It's not even coming from straight men. So this is something that has to be considered. Okay, anyway, cheers and keep safe and all those good things.